6 years, believe it or not. So talking with him after qualifying today, he says, yeah, I got to get a feeling for this boat. It's going to take me a while. And right now, 5 laps in, he seems a bit aggressive, and that's great for Jonas Andersson and all his fans that are here cheering him on. He missed the World Championship last year by 10 laps. He had the championship in his pocket. He almost became a 2-time world champion, but for the first time in all of 2022, he had a mechanical problem. He dropped out with just 10 laps to go, and Sean Torrente, who had been in a tremendous crash, was sitting with wet clothing on in the paddock, all of a sudden realized that, hey, I'm the new world champion.
Yeah, Stark watching him in his mirrors there. As you can see, Jonas comes through the right-hander, takes a tighter line. The problem is, when you take the tighter line, you tend to scrub off a little bit of speed, but he's still there with him. You can see Stark there, turning tight on the boys, watching every move of Jonas. It looks like, to me, like Stark knows exactly where he is, and he knows what to do to hold up the pressure that Jonas is putting on him.
No, looks like Marit Stromoy is dropping out, the teammate of Bartek Marziwak. Marit Stromoy, who had qualified in the 10th spot, has dropped out. That's not a good sign for Stromoy Racing. But while we watch this battle here, in that battle for 4th place, oddly enough now, Torrente is shaving that down, the distance between 1st and 2nd. The real estate's getting smaller and smaller. It's now 2 seconds. So he's gained 1.3 seconds on the leader, Bartek Marziwak, as they get closer and closer here, as we've gone way past the 1/3 mark of this quick 18-lap sprint, the first of 2 races that will determine the Grand Prix this afternoon, and these will count in points. And I'll tell you something, Bartek now needs to just focus, stay on what he needs to do here as you work around some traffic.
Yeah, just looking at the boat there with Bartek there, a little bit off balance as he came through the last 2 turn boys there. The boat a little bit running a bit too loose on the water, but he seems to have everything under control now, Steve. It's still 2 seconds. You can see Torrente there trying to cut through on the inside, going around a shorter part of trying to shorten the track to try and make that gap on him, but it's still there, 2 seconds as we speak.
Yeah, Bartek got a 1/10 of a second back, 2.11 the difference between 1st and 2nd place. They're closing the gap a little bit closer. It's about 12 boat lengths separating the two. And again, it's a situation of how this young driver, who for the first time in his career is feeling the pressure of leading a race. You've done that so many times, Jonathan. Does your mind change when you lead a race and you're in protective mode, or you just keep focusing on the job at hand?
You got to keep focused. You got to keep pushing. You've got to be running at 110%, because that's when these boats are running at their best on the water. But Sean, getting through back markers there, overtaking Duarte Benavente, the Portuguese driver. Maybe it slowed him a little bit there. I noticed that Bartek seemed to get through the back markers a little bit quicker, and you can see that he's increased that gap, Steve, again by just a split second. So at the moment he's still sitting pretty there. That boat running so well in these tough conditions here in Indonesia.
Yeah, it was a bit bad luck for the world champion. You mentioned he got caught up with the Portuguese driver, Duarte Benavente, the oldest driver on the tour, and Bartek took full advantage of it. He got his second back. It was down to 2 seconds. It's back up to 3.3 seconds, the difference. Wow. Yeah. So Bartek got the job done. So we know this young man who is from Poland can figure out that he can handle the pressure of being in a #1 spot. At least he can so far. We're halfway through this race. Sprint race #1 of 2 this afternoon for the Grand Prix of Indonesia.
And I think that they're both built from the same factory up in northern Italy in Como there. But I think that the boat that Bartek has got, Steve, is just slightly longer. And that means that when the conditions get rougher as the race goes on, maybe his boat is better suited. You can see he's gaining again on Sean Torrente in that second. Is he having an easier ride? Is he able to push a little bit harder as the race goes on?
We'll have to wait and see here as we've gone past the halfway point. Over down toward turn #9. Now it's a front straightaway of 520 meters. These are 9 turns, 2 right-handers. Very unusual, very technical in nature. And the drivers really have to focus on their lines, because if you get offline, you're going to lose a lot of time. And again, this battle between 2 Swedes, Eric Stark and Jonas Andersson, continues to heat up. down in that 4th place between the two drivers, which is now just a matter of a second separating those two.
I think if Jonas was able to get ahead of him, he'd have a bit of clear water and he'd pull away from him. But as you can see, look, as Stark turns there, Jonas is getting all the wash and the spray and finding it quite difficult to actually see as he tries to improve and close that gap with Stark.
Philippe Shep, there you see second alone. This is his brother-in-law, or I should say his ex-son-in-law out there running, Peter Moran. And the driver from Rouen is starting his 27th race, still looking for his first victory. He's got 3 podiums, and he's a good qualifier, but getting him up there. Now, really, Peter Moran, in the past, he's been 7 top 5s in his last 11 races, so he knows how to finish up in the top 5. He's doing his best to do it right now. He's in the 6th spot.
And he's, of course, we've got to bear in mind that he's running a new boat here this weekend. He has not run it in the past. It was the boat of Philippe Chiappe, 2-time world champion. Although I spoke to him after practice and he said it's a lot lighter on the water. It seems to accelerate a lot better, but it's just going to take me a little bit of time to get into the groove and know the limits of that boat.
Wow, the difference in speed between the top 2, as you saw it on your screen a second ago, just 3.9 seconds separating 1-2, and then the cushion between Torrente and Sami Celio, almost 7 seconds. Wow, so it's a 2-boat battle up in the front, and then Celio is pretty much by himself, 5 seconds ahead of Eric Stark, but we're all watching the Eric Stark, Anderson, Peter Moran battle. 3-boat battle for 4th place, and that's only separated by about 2.5 seconds.
Yeah, pretty even Stevens there, isn't it, Steve? There's about a second between Stark and Anderson, and you can see that the French driver Peter Moran trying everything he can. He's on the inside, outside, just trying to close down that gap between himself and Anderson. And again, back markers coming into play, Steve, for these 3 drivers. We could see a change if some of the slower drivers don't get out of the way for 1 or 2 of these drivers.
We talked about 4 different rookies this year fighting for that prestigious Rookie of the Year award. And right now, Ahmed Al-Fahim, who is the teammate of Eric Stark on that victory team, doing well. He's up in the, we take a look, he's in the 8th spot, just ahead of the American Brent Dillard with the CTIC China team, who's in the 9th position.
Yeah, just looking back as well, looking at the first 3 there, Sami Celio doesn't seem to have the pace of the 2 front drivers, does he, Steve? You've got a 2.84 second gap between Bartek and Sean, and then about 10 seconds between Sean and Sami Celio in 3rd.
Torrente's closing the gap big time, Jonathan. It's down to 2.04 seconds. He shaved a 1.5 seconds. Torrente now less than 10 boat lengths, separating 1 and 2 as we work our way down to the final 5 laps of the first of 2 sprint races that we'll have for you this afternoon as we continue to watch that 4th place battle between Eric Stark and that blue boat on your right for the victory team. Jonas Anderson, the 2021 world champion. There's his wife Janie talking to her husband. And it's a full family effort, and neighbors up in Sweden, they all help out in the community. They try to help their buddy and neighbor, Jonas Anderson, the best they can to get him to have a successful season. It's kind of a great little group gathering there.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the passion in Scandinavia in general for powerboat racing, especially Formula One or any form of motorsport, is quite unbelievable. And we're back there again. Doesn't seem to be too much progress made with the China team, but trying everything that they can. And
all right, here's Peter Moran. Look at him making the move now, Jonathan, on the inside, heading into the right-hander, sending Jonas Anderson way wide. So the driver from France has moved himself up, and Jonas Anderson looks like Jonas Anderson could be coming slower and slower on the race circuit. He's slowed down. He's still running, but the yellow flag is out. There's a problem on the race circuit with 4 laps left to go. And oh my, this will make it interesting, Jonathan, as one of the Sharjah drivers went over.
Which one is that, Steve?
It's either Ferdinand or it might be Ferdinand.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, Ferdinand Zanderberg.
Oh dear.
The driver from Holland, who last year battled himself to almost getting Rookie of the Year award. This is his 2nd season. He finished 5th in the championship. And for him, he crashed out of the race in Sharjah in his last event.
Yeah, you could see the Osprey rescue team there at hand very, very quickly. The front, they got a drop-down dory. It's an inflatable boat with you can see the front end of it drops down, so that when they recover the driver out of the water, they don't have to pull him in over the boat. He floats into the boat. But looking at him there sitting on the side, Steve, it's okay with him. He looks in pretty good shape.
All right, as we watch the boats coming around slowly. It's interesting. I think if there's one flaw, and this is a whispering, people talking about different drivers in the paddock. One thing they think maybe Ferdinand is missing is the lack of feel for the boat at high speed. Sometimes he just can't control the feel. He's got to learn it a little bit more. And with that, that's his second accident in a row. That's his only flaw, I think. Otherwise, he's pretty quick.
But Steve, you do learn from that. I mean, I remember in my early days when I was racing, I mean, I had quite a few crashes, and it's all down to experience, isn't it? That's the bottom line. And he'll get there. He realizes probably what went wrong with the boat when he had the accident, and he'll learn from that.
Well, we've talked about some of the previous accidents. Let's take a look at a few of them that he went through last year in his rookie season. Here you can see him at full flight, was running well in that race in Sharjah, then barrel rolls it out of turn number 1 real hard as he tried to set the boat, and he dug in on the right spots, and it slid, and then it snapped on him, and over it went, Jonathan. And the Osprey rescue team, his new best friends, came in there and rescued him, brought him in. And another day of wet drawers for him. And then that's not all that he has done here. He's had some wild and crazy times, and then over he goes again. So yeah, he's fast, and as you say, he's on a severe learning curve.
Yeah, maybe a little bit, trying a little bit too hard. Yeah. I mean, what you've got to do is you've got to get into a groove when you're racing these boats, and then you've got to make sure that you can feel everything around you, that the boat is well balanced on the water, and but it could have been that. It could have been just a rogue wave that caught him out there. So because it did yesterday with Peter Moran, we were talking on between turn number 1 and turn number 2. I mean, he looked very comfortable out there, and all of a sudden then the boat was turned over. So it's a bit like driving a Formula 1 car over a ploughed field. Formula 1 cars, when they're on a track, it's all nice and calm and flat. Yes. But the problem here is that every lap that these drivers go around with these boats, the conditions change all the time. You get the rollers coming in from the far end of the circuit, and it does catch them out from time to time. So that might have been just a bit unfortunate for Ferdinand there, that he was caught out by some pretty rough conditions.
All right, Jonathan, we come back to this reality, our dirty little secret. Why? Because we are at a restart. Why? Because your leader, Bartek Marzowiak, is side by side with Sean Torrente in that battle for the lead that's coming up. And we saw what happened in Sharjah in that early portion of the race, and those two got together, and Bartek was lucky enough to stay flying, and Sean Torrente went flying, nosed it in, and crashed his boat.
Now they don't know where they're going to restart this race on the track. So they're in communication, these drivers, all of them, with the crew chiefs, and when the UIM official drops the checkered flag, they will not be able to see that, Steve. But when he does drop the checkered flag, the radio men have got to be on the money and tell the drivers to go. Coming around now, 2 laps to go, Steve. This is one of the longest straights. Is this where they're going to restart the race?
Well, as the officials wait to make sure everybody crunches up, he's holding the green flag in his hand. Luis Ribeiro from Portugal, a UIM official. We anticipate the start. Green flag, we're back underway. And less than 2 laps to go, and here we go. The battle for the front is on in earnest. Torrente on the outside, trying to push as hard as he can with Bartek. Forced to go wide, Torrente slides around the corner. Now side by side, Torrente has the inside lane for the right-hander, Jonathan. Oh, let's see what happens. Can this Cinderella story continue for Bartek, or will Torrente end it in dreams and tears for the drive for Poland? And Sean Torrente, the 3-time world champion, with less than a lap and a half to go, has taken over the lead on the restart.
You know, we said a three-lap dash, and that's basically what it was. And you can see now that Bartek, he just didn't quite get the pace that he wanted on that restart. Sean Torrente pounced on him and took the lead of the race.
Here on the final lap, now we hold our breath with just 3 more corners to go. Sean Torrente now with Team Abu Dhabi is trying to pull away and easily head down into turn number 9. That was the move of the day, and Sean Torrente, your 3-time world champion for Team Abu Dhabi, will circle around, come by the start-finish line, and he'll come across. And Sean Torrente picks up his 12th career victory and leads this championship. And what a great day for Bartek Marzowiak. He'll finish up 4 seconds behind. And Sami Celio with a battle going on with him and Eric Stark. Celio was able to hold off the Swedish driver for 3rd place. Peter Moran finished in that 5th position, and Thaniel Quimsey came charging up from 9th to finish 6th. And wow, what can you say? The restart, it was a gutsy call for Torrente. He's done it many times, and he knew if he could hang in there side by side with Bartek tried to cover the inside of that first turn, but when he realized that Sean Torrente was equal with him heading down into turn number 3, there wasn't really much Bartek could do.
I think that Torrente's boat was set up better for that restart. If you saw the way that when the checkered flag dropped, how that boat accelerated, he had it balanced perfectly on the top of the water. All credit to him. He gave Bartek plenty of space into turn number 1 and turn number 2. But like you pointed out, Steve, he had the inside line then down that short chute into the right-hander, and that's where he took the race away from him. And wow, what a performance, what a restart from Torrente.
All right, as they come around, they'll circle back in, and 18 laps, the first of 2 sprint races that we have for you this afternoon. The next one is at 3 p.m. local, and that is 8 o'clock UTC time, Greenwich Mean Time in the UK. Sean Torrente giving it us all. Look at him standing up and cheering. What a way to start the season. And he is exuberant and he is excited, and so is Team Abu Dhabi. Torrente coming up with what he did last year. He started the season with a victory in Macon in France after Sami Celio dropped out after having the pole. And Torrente took race number 1, and now it looks like Sean Torrente, if everything's legal, will take number 2, my friend.
That's right, but hey, all credit to Bartek Marzowiak. He had an unbelievable start. He led this race. He dominated the race up until that last 1-lap dash where Torrente just got the legs on him coming through number 1, 2 and into number 3. So Bartek, although he's finished 2nd, he must be he has to be happy with that performance that he put on out there today.
All right, as we take a look at the fast lap, looks like Bartek Marzowiak had the fast lap of the race with a 1:02.23. And as the boats are getting set to come out of the water, unofficially, Torrente takes a victory with Bartek Marzowiak from the pole, finishes in 2nd, led 17 of the 18 laps. Sami Celio finished in 3rd place. Celio started in that 4th place, got around Eric Stark, the Swedish driver, who is back for the first time in 4 years, and he finished 4th. Able to hold off Peter Moran, the veteran driver from France, and then Thaniel Quimsey, the other driver for Team Abu Dhabi, came from 9th to 6th, and along with him Ahmed Al-Fahim, the driver on the victory team. The rookie had a great day, 7th ahead of Brett Dillard from the USA, driving for the CTIC China team from South Carolina. He finished up in 8th. So kind of a nice day for the rookies, 7th and 8th, to make an immediate impression on this series.
Yeah, I think Dillard, I beg your pardon, is going to be really happy with that. I mean, he drove a strong race, a midfield race out there. He's getting used to the boat, and all credit to him, you know, for his first Formula One race to finish in the top 10.
There you see Sami Celio stepping out, the 2007-2010 world champion. Disappointing days for Alec Vekstrom. He didn't start the race. Brock Cohen dropped out very early. He lasted only 1 lap, Jonathan. And then farther down, Reed Stromoy, she didn't last. She was gone after 4 laps. Ben Jelf dropped out halfway through the event in the 10th lap.
Yeah, a couple of guys that we've seen improve in the race is Philip Roms, the Finnish driver. He's up to 9th. So he's be pleased because he's had one or two issues, engine issues, but everything seems to be coming good for him. So maybe we'll see a bit of an improvement there. Jonas Anderson, very unfortunate. Don't know what happened there, but obviously something wasn't right because he was pushing right up at the sharp end there for such a long part of that race, and then all of a sudden he plummeted down the field, and I'm sure he's not going to be happy with his overall 10th.
All right, we've had a great way to start this afternoon with the first of 2 sprint races. Let's go back and take a look at the highlights of race number 1. 18 laps around this very technical 2.2 kilometer race course with 9 turns as drivers from 12 different nations took off to start the 2023 World Championship here in Indonesia from Lake Toba, and off they went. And you can see from the back of the field that Sean Torrente got a great start, but it was on the inside that the driver, the 11-year veteran Bartek Marzowiak, nosed him to the first corner as they came around a very short 435-meter commitment buoy as they came around the pins, and off they went. And there you can see the difference between Torrente and Bartek Marzowiak, and then next to him was Eric Stark starting in the 3rd position.
Yeah, Torrente seemed to have the jump there on most of the field as he took off from the start pontoon, but you could see, to be fair to him, he gave Bartek plenty of space there to get through turn number 1, turn number 2, and the commitment buoys. And boy, what a start by Bartek, though. Look at the lead that he had at the beginning of this race.
Yeah, everybody minding their manners, maintaining their lanes, which is very important. But right away you can see that Bartek had a 10 boat length advantage as he came down that 520 meter front straightaway, pulling out into an immediate lead. And then it was chase time as Bartek started to run away from the rest of the field, making good his escape. He got up to about 3.9 seconds on Torrente until Torrente started reeling him back in, got down to within 2 seconds, and a great 3-boat battle going on between Jonas Anderson, Eric Stark, and then of course the French driver Peter Morant. And then the race came to a quick stop toward the very end, the last few laps, as you could see that the driver from Holland, as it was Ferdinand Zanderbergen, crashing out for the 2nd straight race, first of the year. And we had the restart, and the drivers were all set for the restart, and off they go side by side. Torrente on the outside trying to hold his lane as he and Bartek Marzowiak went side by side, hull by hull, as they came into the right-hander. Then Torrente had the advantage with the inside lane going into the right-hander, and show was over. That was it. Torrente in the inside had the advantage, pulled away. Bartek slipped a little bit farther back, and with him he was able to hold off Sami Celio, and off they went. And what a great way to wrap up the race.
There could be some changes. The start is under investigation. So was there a boat that jumped the start? I've just been given that by the officials. So we'll just have to see exactly what is actually going on there.
All right, let's go to the race results. They are truly unofficial. We'll hold our breath here, and this is what we have at the moment, but they could ever change. So Sean Torrente at the moment picks up 20 big points here with the victory. Bartek Marzowiak finishing in the 2nd place, 4 seconds back with 15. Sami Celio in that 3rd position with 12 points. Eric Stark with 9 points in the 4th place position. Peter Morant with a nice